The Christian Complete Armour by William Grinnell. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 18, in the Spirit. Chapter 7, sincerity required to pray with our spirit. The third thing required to praying with our spirit is sincerity. There may be much fever where there is little or no sincerity, and this is strange fire, not the natural heat of the new creature, which both comes from and acts for God, whereas the other is from and ends in self. Indeed, the fire which self kindles serves only to warm a man's own hands that makes it. Behold, all ye that kindle a fire, that compass yourselves about with sparks. Isaiah chapter 50, verse 11. The prophet represents them as sitting down about the fire they had made. Self-acting and self-aiming ever go together. Therefore, our Savior with spirit requires truth. The Father seeketh such to worship him, as will worship him in spirit and in truth. John 4, verse 23 and 24. But wherein consists this sincere fervency? Zeal warms the affections, sincerity directs their end, and shows their purity and incorruption. The affections are often strong when the heart is insincere. Therefore the apostle exhorts that we love one another with a pure heart fervently. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 22. And speaks in another place of sorrowing after a godly sort, that is, sincerely. Now, the sincerity of the heart in prayer appears when a person prays from pure principles to pure ends. First, when he is real in what he presents to God in prayer, the index of his tongue without, and the working of his heart within, go together, doth not disclaim against a sin with his lips, which he favors with his heart. He doth not make a loud cry for that grace which he would be sorry to have granted him. This is the true badge of a hypocrite, who often would be loath God should take him at his word. A dismal day it will be to such, and when God shall bring in their own conscience to witness against them, that their hearts never sealed the request they made. There is a policy sometimes used by princes to send ambassadors and set treaties on foot when no peace is intended. Such a deceit is to be found in the false heart of man, to blind and cover secret purposes of war and rebellion against God, with fair overtures in prayer to him for peace. Secondly, when the person is not only sincere in what he desires, but this from a pure principle to a pure end. I doubt not that a hypocrite in confession may have a real trouble upon his spirit for his sins, and passionately desire pardoning mercy, but not from a pure principle, a hatred of sin, but an abhorrency of wrath he sees hastening to him for it, not for a pure end, that the glory of God's mercy may be magnified in and by him, but that himself may not be tormented by God's just wrath. He may desire the graces of his Spirit, but not out of any love to them, but only as an expedient, without which he knows that to hell he must go, as a sick man in great pain calls for some potion he loathes, because he knows he cannot have ease except he drinks it, whereas the sincere soul desires grace not only as a physic but food. He craves it not only as necessary, but as sweet to his palate. The intrinsical excellency of holiness inflames him with love to it. As one taking with the beauty of a virgin saith he will marry her, though he had nothing with her but the clothes on her back. So the sincere heart would have holiness, though it brought no other advantages with him than what is found in its own lovely nature. Now he that would pray acceptably must pray thus in his spirit, that is, with the sincerity of his spirit. The prayer of the upright is his delight. Nadab and Abihu were destroyed by fire because they offered strange fire before the Lord. Leviticus 10:1. And such is all zeal that is not taken from the altar of a sincere heart. The fervent prayer can do much, but it must be of a righteous man, and such the sincere man only is. And no wonder that God stands so much upon sincerity in prayer, seeing the lips of truth is so prized even amongst men. Nature hath taught men to commend their words to others by their laying hands on their breasts as an assurance that what they say is true, which dependent publican it is likely aimed at. Luke 18:13. He smote upon his breast, saying, Lord, be merciful to me, a sinner, thereby declaring whence his sorrowful confession came. That light which told the heathens that God must be worshipped informed them also this worship must come from the inward recesses of the heart. What care the gods for gold? Let us offer that which is more worth than all treasures, the heart and inward affections of it. Benzo, in his Historia Novi Obis, relates the strange custom of the natives there. When worshipping their gods, they used, by putting a little stick down their throats, to provoke themselves to vomit, thereby shewing their idol that they carried no secret evil within them. I should not have named this barbarous custom, but to show how deeply this notion is engraven in the natural conscience, that we must be sincere in the worship of God. Let it put us upon trial, whether we thus pray in the Spirit, and whether we can find sincerity stamped on our fervency. If the prayer be not fervent, it cannot be sincere. Approve thyself here, and thou mayest without presumption reckon thyself a saint. And how fervent soever thou art, without sincerity it matters not. For zeal without uprightness is of no service. Nay, no one will go to hell with more shame than the false-hearted zealot, who mounts up towards heaven in his fierce chariot, a seeming zeal, but at last is found a devil in Samuel's mantle, and so is thrown down like lightning from heaven, whither he would have been thought to be going. Be not loath to be searched. There will need then no further search to prove thee unsound. If God's officer be denied entrance, all is not right within. End of chapter 7.